Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix. I'm Amy McKlindon, and I'm your worship associate for this morning's online worship service. Today, we have the special gift of having UUCP member Sam Kirkland lead our worship service with a sermon on allyship. For many of you, Sam needs no introduction. He has shaped and contributed to our community in so many ways, as an owl facilitator, member of the choir, and worship associate, to name just a few of his current endeavors. His fingerprints and love are all over our beloved community. Thank you, Sam, for sharing your voice and your heart with us today. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix strives to be a spiritual community for our time, focused on diverse theological perspectives, radical inclusion, and knowing that issues of justice and equity shape everything we do. With a special awareness for those who have been historically marginalized, we welcome all, of every race, class, ethnicity, immigration status, sexual orientation, gender identity, religious background, mental and physical ability and disability. We welcome you here as your whole self, and we welcome your family into our worship as we build a community of kindness and caring, courage, and hope. Our opening words this morning are from Lilla Watson, an Indigenous Australian visual artist, activist, and academic. If you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together. I invite you to grab a chalice or a candle from your home as we recite our covenant and light our chalice together. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to share our strength in fellowship, thus do we covenant. Now let me introduce our worship team this morning. Our worship leader today is Sam Kirkland. And our music director, Benji Messer. And our director of children's ministries, Katie Resendez. Behind the scenes, we have Justin Walgren doing AV and Brad Chapman as our moderator. For our online worship this morning, we encourage you to find the chat symbol on your screen and engage with the information and links that Brad, our moderator, is sharing. And as always, we invite you to check in on social media with the hashtag UUAnywhere. Now for a few announcements about the life of our community. We have tons of programming each week for kids and adults alike, and all of our program links and passwords are in our weekly e-newsletter, Compass. You can sign up for Compass on our website, and Compass also has information on civic engagement opportunities and more. It's a great tool for staying connected to all that's happening. Our minister, Reverend Christine Dance, is away for vacation and study leave this month, but is joining us today for some pastoral moments. All of us collectively contribute to supporting the mission and vision of this congregation as we explore what it means to be a religious community for our time. We invite you to give to our offering at any time during service. You can donate by text information, which is in the chat, by our website, or sending in an old-fashioned check. We are so grateful for your generosity.
Good morning, everyone. It is so good to see you. I'm the Reverend Christine Dance, and I wanted to join you today to tell you with great sadness about a loss in our community. I sent out an email on Friday to let people know that Ruth Brownstein died this past Tuesday. Ruth has, in one way or another, been part of UUCP for over 25 years, and UUCP was her spiritual home. As is customary, we light a candle at the beginning of service when one of our community has died. Ruth went to the hospital 3 weeks ago with some heart problems, and she had a double heart valve replacement. She was tired, but recovering when her heart gave out on Tuesday. We have been in communication with her family, and Ruth's wishes are to have a memorial service here at UUCP and have her remains in the memorial garden. Her family wants to do that when it is safe for all of us to do that in person. So I got to speak to Ruth last week before she died, and to the end, I found her to be strong, private, so gracious and kind. What she wanted to talk about was here all about how UUCP was doing. Two of our lay pastoral care associates were also checking in with her over the last couple of weeks. We did not think that Ruth was at the end of her life, but nonetheless, she knew she was loved and valued by our community. We sent out her obituary and an email on Friday. And these are difficult times. It's really hard to lose somebody in our community when we are grieving, but we can't automatically get together and share it. But it is still important to get together, even if it's online. So I'll be hosting a Zoom gathering this afternoon at 3 p.m. where we can share our stories and memories of Ruth with each other. Whether you knew her well or not, I invite you to join us. We're putting the links on the chat, or you can find them in the email from yesterday. So please know that my hearts are with you as you grieve, and that we will all be touched and be moved as a community because of Ruth's presence with us.
Thanks, Christine. So, our opening hymn, For All That Is Our Life, is a Unitarian hymn that sings about giving thanks, not just for happy times, but also for sorrow and for difficulty and for work, giving thanks for the whole thing. Feel free to sing along, the lyrics will be in the chat. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its reward, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life. For sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life. And back to the first verse. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. Thanks all.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Katie Resendez, and I'm the Director of Children's Ministry here at UUC Phoenix. Take a minute to remember with me. Remember what it was like to go to a friend's house for the first time. The weird feeling of going into a new neighborhood and trying to remember the number of the house because you weren't really sure what it looked like, and figuring out where to pull up. And you go to the front door or the side door and answering all of those questions for yourself. But once you got to the door, your friend was there and so excited to see you and welcomed you with open arms and welcomed you into their home. And as you walked through their home, you got to see how wonderful where they live is. And some things were different than your house and some things were the same. their couch was really different. Or maybe they even had a parlor where you weren't really allowed to sit on the couch. Or maybe your friend's house is one where shoes are welcome on the coffee table. The couch felt different. And when you were hungry, maybe someone hopped up and brought you a tea in a fancy cup. Or maybe they said, oh, the kitchen's that way, and let you open up the fridge. And they kept their Crisco in the refrigerator. And that seemed weird. Or maybe it was that their dishes were square and yours have always been round. Or they ate out of flat bowls instead of flat plates. If you're an Arizona kid, the big difference between your house and your friend's house might be that they had stairs. It'd be very fancy, very, very fancy. And as you talked and visited with your friends, you became more and more comfortable in this new place. And because of the friendship and the laughter and the jokes and the stories and maybe the tears that you shared around their dining table or sitting on their couch or in their backyard, you knew that you were safe there, and you knew that it was comfortable, and you knew that you'd be welcomed back. And after a while for a visit, you did go back home. And it was nice to be home. And maybe your brain did automatically compare your house to their house, what you liked more, what you liked less. But in your house, you knew you were safe. And you knew where things were. And you knew what to expect. And your friend's house was wonderful, but it wasn't yours. And it wasn't quite the same. These days, that sense of safety, that sense of friendship, that sense of being protected at home is so important because we're at home so much. Some of us haven't left home for months. And we haven't been to our friend's house, but we know that if we returned, they would still love us. They would still take care of us. They would still let us open their fridge. And we would be safe there. But when it comes to big, hard issues, things like protesting in the street, things like speaking up at a city council meeting, or choosing how to vote, for those of us in the community who live in Black or brown bodies, or queer lives, or deal with disabilities and are part of the disability community, or are somewhere else on the age range, that sense of home and that sense of safety is still something we're searching for. And so we think back to our friend's house and we remember how safe we were. And we hope that when we're standing shoulder to shoulder on the front line, that even though our houses weren't exactly the same, and even though things don't fit perfectly together, that the work and love that we've done to feel safe around one another and to keep each other safe and to honor one another as community members will still be there. I still love my house, and I know that you love your house, and it's wonderful. But it's important that we're able to see one another and keep each other safe and hold one another and remember that we're living different lives in different houses and that that gives us power. And it also gives us power to stand shoulder to shoulder. You are so very powerful. Your community is powerful, and you are so very loved.
you, Mary. So Amy told me that I could come on and do joys and sorrows, and I thought that that would be appropriate today. It is good to share our joys, the sorrows of our community, being together online to support each other and to connect. So please write any joys or sorrows that you want our community to know about in the chat, sending it to panelists. Please put your name at the beginning so I know who it is. And if you want it to be private, only to me, just put the word private on there and I will hold it in my heart. So in addition to the news of Ruth, we share the sorrow that our business administrator, Stephanie Bridell Vigil, her husband, Danny, and her husband's mother have all tested positive and are suffering from COVID-19. So Stephanie and Danny are at home, and sadly, Danny's mother, Nora, was taken to the hospital yesterday. She's in pretty rough shape. This is a classic case where one person who was asymptomatic didn't wear a mask at Danny's work and spread it to 35 other coworkers. And then they each brought it home. So please wear your masks. And we ask that you have patience with us here at UUCP as we take Compass down to just once a week on Friday. And if you need a Zoom meeting scheduled, make sure that you have that at least 2 days in advance. Everything else administratively, we're going to just put on hold until Stephanie returns and give her time to heal from this. Thank you for your patience as we send their family and all of those who are suffering from this virus lots of healing thoughts and energy. I also want to address the great sadness of the passing in one day of two of our civil rights heroes, Representative John Lewis and Reverend C.T. Vivian. John Lewis was one of the original freedom riders, chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the youngest speaker at 23 years old on the March on Washington, a leader on the march from Selma to Montgomery, and a member of Congress serving the people of Georgia for 33 years. I'm enjoying reading all the tributes to him, and I'm just continue to be amazed. Reverend Vivian participated in the Freedom Rides, the lunch counter protests, and worked alongside the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. He did it all through his call to ministry, where he felt that civil rights was a moral imperative, like many of us do. He was also from Atlanta. Their legacies are a testament to the work of racial justice, and we can honor their lives through our continuing work. Now to the joys and sorrows of our community. We have from Valina a concern, a worry about the schools opening up soon, being scared for everyone's safety. John Williamson has a joy that daughter Marianne tested negative for COVID-19. And Barbara Cawthorn says that Ruth was going to share her experiences with the congregation. I'm assuming, Barbara, you meant that some of her travel experiences. A joy from Vicki Myers, who is grateful for the many ways our community stays connected and supportive during this COVID time. And I have a joy of Vicki and the lay pastoral care folks and the Unicare people who have been on the taking care of our folks. Such great care of them. Phil Slater says, a joy, a friend with COVID was discharged from the hospital today. From Ed Cernak, a concern, our son Andrew and grandson Blake may have COVID. They are awaiting test results. From Ruth and Walter Pincus, our joy is that we managed to make it to Michigan and are now here until September 12th. I'm glad that you got there safely. From Kimmy Jo says, a joy that my father, Pat Rudge, is doing much better. He is breathing on his own and beginning to talk again. Thank you for all your kind words and healing light you have sent to my family in this last month. Yes, and Barbara Cawthorn clarifies that Ruth was going to share of her traveling second Friday. So sad that she has passed. Perhaps her family can share with us her young life in the Japanese internment center. Ruth was featured in a book, which I'm interested in getting and reading. Maybe we can share that together. From Keith Brown, Leo turned 12, and we are rereading John Lewis' graphic novel March together. Oh, how wonderful. Amanda Roger says, a tentative joy that my school district, Mesa Public Schools, is starting remotely and will, according to the superintendent, remain remote until it's actually safe to return in person. Glad to hear safe messages. And then from Catherine Cruz, a sorrow, a friend's cousin has died of COVID. Oh, a lot of COVID, a lot of ways it is touching us and our hearts and our sorrows, and a lot of loss. So I'm going to invite you to join me in the spirit of prayer. Center your body, take some breaths if that feels good for you. And we're just going to list some of the things in our hearts and on our minds. And after each phrase, I invite you at home to say blessings upon them. However that word means, whatever it means for you, blessings upon them. For those who are feeling the loss of Ruth Bronstein, a friend, a beautiful grounded soul, a community member, those who are shocked or saddened, we wish comfort, solidarity, and peace. Blessings upon them. For Ruth's family who couldn't be with her when she died, who are grieving and do not have an immediate ritual for grieving, we send them our love, our commitment to join them in their memorial when it is safe to do so. Blessings upon them. For the lives of John Lewis and Reverend C.T. Vivian, we are so grateful for their lives, for their gifts to our world. We promise to carry their legacy forward with gratitude and commitment. Blessings upon them. For Stephanie Bridell Vigil and her family, we wish them healing, patience, and our love and support. Have them know that we are praying for them in all the ways that have meaning for us. Blessings upon them. For those who are also dealing, recovering, suffering from COVID, we wish you patience, and we are sending energy for your immune systems. Blessings upon them. For teachers and parents who are worried about school options, who are weighing the least worst options for their families, we are with you. Blessings upon them. For those who are feeling isolated, tired of this, impatient, stressed, emotional. For those for whom the daily discussions and weighing of risks has just become a weight. Blessings upon them. For those around our nation who are protesting, resisting, pushing for racial justice, and are showing that we will not be silent even during a pandemic. Blessings upon them. For our community, as we continue to find new ways to support each other, think innovatively, to connect with each other, to do the work of beloved community and justice. Blessings upon us. Amen. Blessed be, and Ashe.
As we reflect today on the theme of allyship, I wanted to offer up this definition from PeerNet BC. I recently came across it in Layla Saad's book, Me and White Supremacy, which I am reading as part of a facilitated study and action group. Allyship is defined as, quote, an active, consistent, and challenging practice of unlearning and reevaluating, in which a person of privilege seeks to work in solidarity with a marginalized group. Allyship is not an identity. It is the lifelong process of building relationships based on trust, consistency, and accountability with marginalized individuals and/or groups. Allyship is not self-defined. Our work and our efforts must be recognized by the people we seek to ally ourselves with, end quote. It's a lot to sit with, so I wanted to elevate a few pieces. First, the idea of unlearning. As aspiring allies in any context, we are not starting from a neutral place and have a lot of work to do to recognize our own privilege and unlearn a lifetime of harmful lies. Second, the importance of being in relationship in a way that's built on trust, consistency, and accountability. Relationships take time, they must be nurtured, and we need to show up again and again. Third, allyship is not self-defined. I don't get to make that determination. It's one that I must earn, and I must continue to earn. And that brings me to the fourth piece. Allyship is a lifelong process. It is not a destination, it doesn't happen overnight, and it requires continuous, concerted work. My friend Camila Marquez is co-facilitating the study group I'm in and asked our group this week to think about urgency versus sustainability in our anti-racism work. She encouraged us to think about the ways in which our sense of urgency was leading to performative allyship rather than genuine allyship. In other words, what actions were we taking to back up our posts on Instagram and Facebook? Were those posts truly in service of liberation, or in service of our own image. Camila also highlighted the ways in which a false urgency can uphold white supremacy by creating an initial wave of activity that is not sustained and does not move beyond the surface level, therefore not effectively making change. It has been a reckoning for me over the last several weeks to realize that I am not the ally I would have liked to tell you that I am. And there you have it, all in one sentence. As soon as I wrote it, I saw how it demonstrates all the work that I still have left to do. I was thinking I could determine myself as an ally. I wanted to look good or perform as an ally in front of all of you, and I'm framing allyship as an identity. Clearly, I still have a lot of work to do. Reading a book won't get me there, but it is equipping me with language and critical reflection skills that I'll need if I have any chance of truly practicing allyship, and I am in it for the long haul.
Something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there. It's telling me I've got to go in. Stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going. What a field day for the heat. 1,000 people in the street, singing songs and carrying signs, saying hooray for our side. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Strikes deep into your heart, it will creep. It starts when you're always afraid. Step out of line, the man comes to take you away. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going on.
Good morning to my beloved UUCP community and family and friends from near and far. Damn, Bob, that was incredible. It was just like I thought it would be. On July 14th, my bold and beautiful mother, Johnny Jordan Matthews, would have turned 1,008 months. Her delivering her age in months was the focus of an inside family joke and posed a little consternation whenever you'd ask her age. I decided that in the wake of my mother's passing in March of 2013, that I would work toward being a more empathetic and kinder person. Some folks would suggest that I was already a decent fellow, and I thank you for that. While others wonder, when does that other kinder, gentler, more empathetic Sammy show up? Either way, I've decided to honor the unique, eclectic power of the love she showered on me and my family by performing an annual sermon in memory of her life and love and her significance in my life and our lives. Last July, I explored ways for men to become better allies to women in their strides toward equality. That service evolved into a rousing, rollicking room full of women and men turning towards each other and talking and listening to each other. As I look back in hindsight, I remind myself that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And how much I really, really miss being together on campus with you all. My sermon today nestles nicely into that one. Encouraging, insisting, requesting, demanding, cajoling, nudging, progressive folks, decent liberals, who believe as 45% of all Americans that the ravages and impacts of racism are real, and to expend as much of their unmerited privilege as possible, breaking down systemic racism and making every effort to eradicate it from our lives henceforth. To take on being allies of people of color in this fight for justice and equity that people of color cannot wage without the help of allies. I remember the powerful and personal impact of finding out that Reverend James Reeb, who was killed in Selma, Alabama in March of 1965, protesting along with Dr. King for voting rights for people of color, was a Unitarian Universalist minister. His tragic death reminded me that sometimes allies laid down their own lives to benefit all of us, and that not all martyrs in this struggle look like George Floyd. As I researched and prepared for the service, I did a Google search for white allies, and amazingly, there was a white ally toolkit website. Intrigued, I took a deeper dive and found that Dr. David Camp, originally from Detroit, Michigan, has been conducting this sort of work for more than 25 years, and with Unitarian Universalist congregations, including my Michigan UU home, the Northwest Unitarian Universalist Church of Southfield, Michigan, since 2017. Shout out to Northwest.
We need white folks to remember that for hundreds of years, people of color have had to deal with people who have racist views, who said they loved them, or said they cared about them, doing something for them, and were not only abusive, but had racist views. And people had to play the long game on that. They had to hang in there and do something with their anger and frustration. Other than, I just can't deal with that person. So what I'm saying is, as we move to this new moment, part of what is important is that white folks decide, I can go to a place of center where I'm just not overwhelmed by somebody's racism.
Someone asked what to do with those who are unapologetically racist?
Well, you have to make a decision. You have to make a decision about how much does this person mean to you, right? Now, let me just say from the outset, I don't believe that people in the ally community should throw their time at any fool, at every racist fool. I don't believe that. However, I think that the common mistake is I can't engage that person. I think that as a general matter, y'all are way too willing to dismiss people. In another talk, I could talk about a cultural weakness of white progressives, of white people generally, which is to throw each other away. I find it outrageous the way that white folks are willing to say things to me. People say this to me. I'm not gonna talk to my cousin until Trump's out of office. Which I just find what is wrong with you? I think that there's a cultural pathology among white Americans where there's a pathology that people of color don't have as much, because people of color know that family is important and the relationships are important. And you can't just throw people away because they don't have the same views. Now, so I will say that. So I'm saying that the common mistake is for people to decide, oh, I can't deal with that person. I also would argue it's a privilege move, like to decide that their racism is just too irritating to deal with. That's a privilege move. We need white folks to remember that for hundreds of years, people of color have had to deal with people who have racist views, who said they loved them, or said they cared about them, doing something for them, and were not only abusive, but had racist views. And people had to play the long game on that. They had to hang in there and do something with their anger and frustration. Other than, I just can't deal with that person. So what I'm saying is, as we move to this new moment, part of what is important is that white folks decide, I can go to a place of center where I'm just not overwhelmed by somebody's racism. Now, having said all of that, I am not saying that every racist idiot is somebody to spend all your energy on. Dr. Eddie Moore of the White Privilege Conference, he says there are some pancakes that cannot be flipped. We all know that from making pancakes, right? So the point I'm making is that the tendency is to abandon the effort too quickly, but that doesn't mean that you should never abandon the effort. So yeah, there are people on policy racist, but if you have a relationship of trust with them, if you have seen that they sometimes are capable of empathy, if you have seen that they sometimes are capable of change, sometimes, then you need to make a decision about trying to work with that. The truth is, it's a move of spiritual growth for you to make the attempt to try to find the place within you that's centered, that you can manifest curiosity and get them talking about themselves, and to connect with them. I'm giving you the race method: reflect, ask, connect, and then tell a story to try to invite them to see racism in society by inviting them to see it within you. So yeah, there are going to be people that's not going to work with, but as a general matter, people are abandoning way too quickly. So, but there are people that after you try hard enough, you should let go of the attempt, but the tendency is to let go way too quickly.
The White Ally Toolkit and Ally Conversation Toolkit helps white anti-racism allies have more productive conversations with other white folks who do not share their understanding in doing their part in the fight against racism. Progressive whites are empowered and equipped through the race method, a unique and effective approach designed from the best practices of nonviolent communication, listening, storytelling, and compassion with the neuroscience of persuasion. RACE stands for reflect, ask, connect, expand. Using the RACE method, white anti-racism allies can become more persuasive in conversations with racism skeptics, people who are skeptical that racism against people of color is a real problem and can hopefully, compassionately, and positively influence them. This November, we face an election that will pit Vice President Joe Biden, a decent, future-focused politician, against President Trump, who appears to be committed to dividing our nation into as many factions as he possibly can. Dr. Camp suggests that there is some immediate work for white allies to do in the upcoming election that can gird their loins for the big flip, the big flip.
Trump's game he plays the contempt game. He plays the division game. He tells them that what y'all do is look down on his supporters. You think they're deplorable. You think they're evil. And so what we need, what the black folks who gave us Joe Biden the easiest way to pull across the line, what we need y'all to do is to call upon the compassion in the coalition and bring that to the people who you know when you're talking to them. Now, it is perfectly great to be angry and to get out when you're out in the street, to get angry and to protest and to fight his policies tooth and nail. But when you're talking to like the people in your family or the people in your church group or your neighbors, what we need you to do is what black folks have been doing for a long time, which is to not just react to out of frustration, out of a sense that like I can just react. Like black folks have learned you cannot just react to injustice. You can't just be mad and act mad. Sometimes you have to control yourself for the sake of a longer term goal. What is the talk about when black parents talk to their children about how to negotiate with the police? That is all about, even in the face of injustice, you need to remember you got a longer term goal. And so part of what I think is a wisdom of black community that we've had to generate over a period of centuries, which has to do with a certain level of self-control and detachment and focus on the ultimate goal. We need white folks to develop that, and quickly, because this election is happening. And essentially, we handed y'all the easy person. Don't mess it up with being too angry with people that you don't need to be angry with, right?
Although some people believe Vice President Biden to be a less than ideal candidate, however, I hope and pray that he's the right white man for our time and that the impact of apathy and dismissal is circumvented. If George Floyd's murder got you up and out into the streets, do not let your fervor die down until we at least wrestle the wheel of civility and power out of the hands of President Trump. I've been in correspondence with Dr. Camp, and I will be lobbying our board to contact him on behalf of our congregation to help us if we need any help, to get to the next plateau, which appears to be flipping the belief that racism is real from 45% of the population to 55% of the population by 2025. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Stay hydrated, stretch, remember to breathe, and condition yourself for the long run. Our proposed 8th Unitarian Universalist Association principle reads, we, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. Thank you, Justin. The fact that the UUA and member congregations are coming to terms on how to dismantle white supremacy and share their privilege toward deconstructing systemic racism and all the ways it weaves its way insidiously throughout the global tapestry of our world speaks directly to my heart and my head. It is work that will prod white people into great introspection. It is work that will be uncomfortable. It is work that will place them in the unenviable position of exhibiting courage, sharing compassion, and revealing to friends and family that their opinions and viewpoints may differ significantly, and share why as they actively listen to opinions and ideas that they are in disagreement with. This would be a welcome time to widen your circle of friends deliberately to include more people of color. That way, you can have mirrors, possible sounding boards, or subject matter experts that you can go to and ask, does this comment or thought seem racist? Or even to express to a new friend how difficult this work can be, your own version of an amen corner. The relationships that we form and the love that we share, ultimately, is where the real change will occur, personally and inspirationally first. Understand that many people of color will not be able to or want to comfort you in this work, and that they should not be expected to. However, friendship is at its best and worst a reciprocal relationship. People of color have historically been expressing our grievances over and over again and again, and have been met with gaslighting, outrage, retribution, tears, and occasional fits and starts of progress amid refrains about the significance of bootstraps and bullshit of that ilk. However, I will share with you that if you and I are friends, that I will unabashedly come to your aid, because that is what friends do. Hold your head up, hold your heads up, be proud, anxious, somewhat off balance, as you humbly take on this marathon.
Thank you, Sam. I hope we can be as good an ally to you as you've been to us today in that presentation. So Sam asked me if we could close with another hymn that takes a really broad view of our lives. It's We Laugh, We Cry by the Unitarian Universalist songwriter Shelley Jackson Denham. Feel free to sing with me. The lyrics will be in the chat. Let me pull up all my lyrics. Here we go. We laugh, we cry, we live, we die, we dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a need to be together. We have our hearts to give, we have our thoughts to receive, and we believe that sharing is an answer. A child is born among us, and we feel a special glow. We see time's endless journey as we watch the baby grow. We thrill to hear imagination freely running wild. We dedicate our minds and hearts to the spirit of this child, and we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a time to be together. And with the grace of age, we share the wonder of youth, and we believe that growing is an answer. Our lives are full of wonder, and our time is very brief. The death of one among us fills us all with pain and grief. But as we live, so shall we die, and when our lives are done, The memories we shared with friends, they will linger on and on. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a place to be together. We have the right to grow. We have the gift to believe that peace within our living is an answer. We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the waste of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here to make sense of what we find. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a joy being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see even to question truly is an end.